Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Joe on the Job Site. I am Joe. I am here today with my guest, Joe Westgate. He is a longtime tradesman, been in the business for 30 plus years, and he's worked his way up from working in the field to a scheduler using the Primavera P6 program. He's one of the key instruments in teaching me how to use the program, how to schedule the building, how to make it work, the things to look for. One of the things I've always enjoyed with him is when he walks the job, he knows what it's supposed to look like by looking at the schedule. So, Joe, welcome this morning. I'm glad to have you. Thank you for taking your time out to come and join us. I would like today for us to, we're going to do a short session here. And then if you would, I'd like to walk the job with you and see your thoughts on how the project is.
Sure.
When you, the window behind you, when it starts to get daylight, we're going to take a walk on the job.
Very good.
So I mentioned your years in the industry. How many years have you been in this industry?
38 years before I retired.
And retired now and enjoying it.
Enjoying it immensely.
Great, made a good living, made a good income.
Oh, it's very good.
Made a nice retirement.
Construction is a great industry to be in.
So for the folks here, How did you get your start? What brought you into the industry? Who was your mentor and what kind of key components helped lead you to where you're at? Because I've been around you for 25 years plus for sure. And you taught me many things, and your vision of making a schedule was extraordinary. How did you get started?
Well, started back in the 80s. I was driving truck for a living. And I was a Teamster in the union. And I woke up one day and said, I really want to keep doing this when I'm 50 years old. So my wife would work for a construction company, got to know the people there she worked with. I just went in and asked them for a job one day. And they hired me shortly thereafter to be an assistant field engineer and taught me on the job training for laying out buildings. My first job was a 10 building prison in Massachusetts, brand new 3-year job. And we had over 1.5 miles of footings and foundation walls to lay out. And once they were done, we laid out all the walls and stuff inside the building.
Right.
I met a guy there, was my mentor. He was going to move on to another job, and he requested I go with him and be his lead engineer on his job.
So continuing the layout.
Yeah.
Right.
And he made me an assistant super when I went over with him. And I worked there, and I got be asked to be a scheduler one day because one of the guys that was asked to do it never replied back to the company and said he was interested. So I got a call to the office one day and said, hey, we'd like you to be our scheduler for our company. And I said, well, I've never touched a computer in my life. And he said, well, you weren't an engineer before you came here either, were you?
You learned.
I said, good point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there I went 2.5 more years. I worked with that company. We had a downturn in the early 90s. Things started to get slow there. And one of superintendents I used to work with, he ended up going to another company.
This was in
a casino.
This was in the Rhode Island area.
Rhode Island, Connecticut area.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going to work at a casino up there and stayed there 5 years working on that. And
So you were assistant superintendent, mostly laying out?
in the beginning, in the first job, I went on to be the scheduler
on
the casino.
On the casino.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did 2.5 years of scheduling on the first job, but I did the 5 years of scheduling on the casino.
On the casino.
And that's where I've been ever since. So I've been in the scheduling since early 90s.
So your education was, you graduated high school?
Graduated high school.
Went truck driving, changed.
Worked in a warehouse, started working in a warehouse. You know, we're in the Teamster Union and decided to get out of that and try something better.
So you've made your way up the craft by learning.
Yeah.
Taking someone offered an opportunity, working at it and moving yourself forward. What kind of how did you learn the schedule? I mean, what programs were you using? How'd you learn the programs?
Well, the first class I had to take up was DOS. That's how
I
far
remember
back I
that.
go. And
Yeah, that's called old.
that's
You know
all-
that, don't
yeah.
you?
And so it was P3 at the time, not P6.
Right.
And so I learned it on DOS. I went to Primavera classes. I went to computer classes and learned it. And then just walking the jobs with the superintendents. And I've known how to put buildings up. So that just came easy to me. And just getting the right flow and sequence of work down and the right amount of duration on activities, putting it all together, working with good teams. That's what we did. So,
So you went for Primavera P3 at the time.
mhm.
You went to class, attended classes. Now, was this something you did at night, or did you do it like they send you to the training?
They would send you to the training, plus you're working with the software because I was just basically thrown into it. Said, here, we're going to give you a computer. You're going to learn it. We'll give you 6 months. If you don't do it, then you're going to come back to being an assistant superintendent.
And well, that's a story that answers the story where you're at now. How well
Right.
you did.
Yeah. So I just learned. I was always a pretty good sponge. I could absorb a lot of information from different things, and computers took to me pretty good, and that was it.
Well-
Wasn't until I got to my second job that I still didn't want to be a scheduler. I mean,
Yeah,
to me it was
yeah.
to me it was I hadn't settled on it yet. It was still a ways of means to get through the downturn of the economy, and so I remember my first review with the company that I went to at the casino. They asked me, "Where do I see myself in 5 years?" And I said, "Well, I see myself as a superintendent." And the project vice president looked at me and said, "There's something wrong with you?" He goes, "You've already passed that. Think of what you got. You don't work Saturdays. You don't have to move every 5 years. You're home with your family every night.
Yeah.
You're not working the weekends."
Concrete pours, late nights.
So I sat home. It took me a while to get it. That's right. And then I seen a lot more opportunities for me in scheduling than I did, because there was a lot more superintendents out there in the industry, all project managers. So at the time, there was very few schedulers. And so that's where I found my niche and hooked up with some good companies, got to travel the world. Well, all kind of different projects, airports, prisons, colleges, hospitals, sewer treatment plants, freshwater treatment plants, casinos, run the gamut.
So you've got to see and experience the
Mhm.
time on each schedule, different types of jobs.
Oh yeah, high rises in Miami to work at theme parks here in Orlando.
Right. I remember that some of the stuff we've done together,
Mhm.
where I learned from you some of the schedule techniques and the do's and the don'ts.
Yeah.
And through your career, you mentioned a minute ago that you felt like you weren't in the right place there for a while doing scheduling. What clicked in your mind besides the conversation you had that said inside, I think I'm staying where I'm at, I can do it? Because you have a natural ability with the program.
I do, and so you just don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You just say, well, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. So, and as time progressed, and working with P3, I was actually one of their beta testers when they went on to go into the Windows version
Right.
of P3. And then once we got into Florida, I was one of the beta testers again for the new P6 program they had come out with.
Updated version of the schedule.
Yeah, in the early 2000s. So I've been, using Primavera products, which is now Oracle's product, but it was
Back then it was Primavera.
and I, know it forwards, backwards, and so
So you started out in the field, you worked your way up,
Mhm.
you took the training, you took the time to learn on your own,
Mhm.
and you had a little time where you questioned about, do I or do I not want to be? Now that you've done that, what did you find rewarding about staying in the scheduling? You know, everybody has the enjoyment that they like in their field. I like building buildings, and you've come through scheduling, and it's one of the things you've always seemed to enjoy it around me.
I like the people, um, the seeing of the projects because I get to see it every other week, where the field team only sees it day to day.
Yeah.
They don't see the changes.
Yes, it's such a slow progress day to day. You
So-
don't notice so much.
Right. But I could go back to them and say, wow, look at it. What you guys got accomplished this week. In some instances, I can say, wow, we didn't get much accomplished this week. But most of the time, it goes well and it goes good. And you have the camaraderie of the team. And on certain teams, you get along with better than other teams. But I'm lucky I can, like a chameleon, just kind of get inside the heads of the superintendents, try to extract what they're trying to do on the job and put it into that computer.
Right.
So if I can do that, then I can tell their story. And their story is how they're building that job day in and day out.
And communicating it to the team.
And communicating
Helping-
it to the
helping
team,
them
communicating it to the owner, communicating it to upper management, who sometimes don't realize what the team is doing. And they need to get it.
Who was one of your more memorable mentors? One, two, or three of them that you had as you were growing, as you were coming up through the
Yeah,
grades?
I had a.
And I don't mean the guy you broke the pencils at and film at him.
He was one of them. Rick Bundy Sr. was definitely one of my mentors later on in my career when I got to Florida. When I was up in the Northeast, Ernie Barrett was the guy who was instrumental in getting me to go with him on his job, and gave me more responsibility as a assistant soup field engineer on his project.
Right.
And before that, it was a guy named Bob Condon, who was the guy who taught me how to do the layout, read drawings, and be proficient in what I was doing, line and grade.
Yeah. So your mentors and the stacking and the learning of your career developed you as you made it up the ladder,
Right.
and had a great success and made a good living at it.
Very good. Yes.
And now you've retired, and
Mhm.
so there are areas, and what we're here today is to talk about the schedule and teaching and things.
Yep.
And when you're in this industry, what do you see as the most challenging part of today in this industry for a scheduler?
The industry today, as a scheduler, is become less about the building and more about the dollars and what they can get in shorter periods of time.
How fast can you build it?
Yeah.
So if it really needs 12 months and the owner says, I want it in 9,
And most of the time, we'll build a schedule. They'll ask us to build a schedule. How long is it going to take? You build that original baseline, and let's say it comes to 30 months. Well, a lot of these companies today, they will go and say, we can do it in 27 to 26 months. So then you got to go back and you got to negotiate with the subs and your team to find where can we extract 4 months from. What's that going to require?
right?
2 flow lines, 2 shifts. What are you going to do? How many cranes you're going to have? You got to figure out on that and things like that. You got to put it in. And a lot of times, when you're forced to cut time, you don't make the schedule. It's hard to make a schedule when you're starting from behind the 8 ball on your very first update. So
It's hard to transition that shortage of time
Right.
and convert it, because I've been on projects where they've done that, and you don't really think about it. When you cut 3 or 4 months off the schedule, yes, you're saving the GCs for the owner of those months, but you need additional people and additional staff and additional subcontractor
Big
manpower
additional cost.
to bring them up.
Right.
That GC savings sometimes isn't always a great dollar amount.
Yeah.
I've had projects where the owner needs it open by a certain day because of a fiscal period for dollar value that they have to do in their business model outline. However, they have the challenge and they decide they're going to do it.
Hmm.
It's tough to do, and I've been on some that have been great. I've been on some that have just been a challenge. And the other thing, when you're shortening the schedule in today's time, you got to look at long lead items.
Oh, yeah.
A transformer now to get on a project, especially if it's 3, 4, 8,000 kVA, you don't get it in weeks anymore. It's close to a year.
Well, I know switchgear during the COVID downturn was definitely 52 weeks plus. And most of the schools that they give you a contract is for a year. So how can, if you're not going to get your switchgear for a year, how can you open up? Well, you have to do workarounds. You've got to go rent temporary transformers, temporary gear. And if you don't have that in your original contract, you're going to take a beating.
And your schedule reflects it too.
Yeah. So that's how we ended up getting through making it, is get the school open and then take out the rented equipment, make the last tie-ins and get final CO.
Yeah.
So
when you're looking at a schedule, a lot of times you're taking the first blush. You're usually involved with the superintendent and the PM or the PX on this thing, and you've had to take the time. When we get our RFPs and RFQs, there's usually start on and
must open by.
or a CO date or something. And that's your controls for developing a schedule. What are some of the most important things that items, people, or what you do when you're developing the very beginning schedule?
Well, you need a team that is knowing the job, who's spent the time to research the drawings, understand their point of view, how they're going to build this job. Now, the worst thing that I find is when I sit down with a superintendent and we build the schedule the way he's going to build it. And the next thing we know, that schedule is done on this job. He is going on to another job. And now we bring in another superintendent and he doesn't have buy-in on this.
He has a whole another opinion.
And by that time, it's deadlocked in because we've already did the baseline, submitted it to the owner, to the subs. They've all agreed to it. And now he's got to live with it. And then he sometimes will not accept it. I never said I could build it that way. But if you get a superintendent who's willing to work, and little by little we can manipulate with him to make it his, then the thing goes a little bit smoother.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good insight on some challenges to making the schedule.
Yeah.
Have you got any other ones you want to share with us on when you're making schedule, some of the challenges that you've had?
Well,
besides the time frame and the superintendents?
Yes. Everybody builds their schedule to the perfect world. You don't fit enough time in for weather delays. Oh, we'll say the owner is responsible for 2 weather days a year, a month rather, and we eat the other 2. Well, if you're only working 5 days a week and you get a rain on one day, you need those 4 Fridays to make up time. If we give them away,
So the only option is to work a Saturday to
Yeah.
make up the
Or
loss.
Sunday.
Or Sundays.
Now, because we've already lost another
Yeah.
rain day. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just some of the things that I see that put in some of these contracts today, I just would not agree with. And, and float is what the amount of time you have, the cushion between the start of the job and when you have to turn over.
So it's telling you
Yeah.
if it's a positive 18 days, if you go, once you take that 18 days and it winds up being at 0, you're
Yeah.
now critical path. If it goes negative, it's telling you you're pushing the end date out.
Or on the other hand of this, if we put in a contract that we own the float, that we create, that helps us, then it's ours.
Right.
And then if you cause us to lose some of that float, it's on you.
So if it's 18 days and there's a force majeure that beyond control that causes the loss,
Right.
then they own it. So we have the 18 days. If it kicks down to 16 days, then they own that 4 days. That's actually a delay of 4 days.
Well, they shouldn't own it if the float is ours.
Right. But if they own it, they own that.
Well, what do you mean owned? You mean
So if the owner says that the float on the schedule is theirs,
his?
is
Yeah,
his.
is theirs.
Yeah.
Correct. Well,
But
that's what I'm saying. If we put it in our contract, that the float belongs to us. So if we get ahead on the structure and we pull in the structure by a month, we should be allowed to keep the end date the same and show
the positive,
the positive float.
right.
Instead of always making the schedule 0 float on everything.
Yeah, which would, if you were 30 days ahead at that time, you would then pull the end date back 30 days.
Right.
And that's not.
My contract finish date is X date. Now, I can hold that date there, put a finish no earlier than date on that. And anything before that we finish is ours.
Right.
Anything finishing that due to us is our fault.
Right.
If it's not our fault, then we'll build a fragment into the schedule to show what pushed out that schedule.
Right. And
A delay.
Yeah.
Weather, hurricane, material not on time, something that could push it out.
So the components of the schedule and the timing and the people that develop it, your time and your experience is vital to share when developing these schedules.
Yes.
In your variety of structures that you've built or buildings that you've scheduled for building, and that's an experience that you've earned and grown as you've come up through your craft. And for a new person coming into it and say, I'd like to be scheduling, one of the strong parts that I remember when I first met you was you could walk the job and I could write what I wanted on that schedule update sheet, and you could say, no, ain't gonna happen. You're showing me done, and I can tell you right here, you got 2 more weeks. But we would always go back and solve an approach to keep us on target and work through it. Now, one of the times in as your career is scheduling your moments of fun and your logics and stuff, if you were to do this over again, would you do scheduling?
Yeah.
Because
Where I sit today, yes, I would.
You've had a great career at it.
Yeah.
And I've sat with you many a times. I've listened to your teaching other people on it and how the time goes. And so when you're developing the schedule and you have a young scheduler with you, what do you try to instill into that person, him or her? Because I've been around male and women and men schedulers, and there's some good ones. What would you try to instill in their mind to get them to grow and learn the craft?
Rule number 1, it's not your schedule. It's the team schedule, that superintendent schedule, who lives it, breathes it, eats it, smells it 24/7.
Yep.
You're there every other week or once a month, depending on how many times you schedule. You cannot possibly know every in and out of that project. You could be up to snuff more than most people, but you're not going to know what yourself was doing on that job.
Yeah. He's the superintendent's got that mind
Yeah.
sight of the job. And when he looks at that schedule, he sees every little part and pieces.
I like having the project team participate. Project managers, project executives, project engineers. But I want it all funneled through one person. That would be the lead / general superintendent running that project.
Yeah.
That way you don't get miscommunication and 5 different stories. So the best thing I do is I ask my general is to accumulate all his data from his field staff,
Right.
assimilate it into the schedule for me. Then I'll do the data dump, put it all into the schedule, see, oh, they do this. Oh, they got that poured this week. Great. So you get to see it, feel it, taste it yourself. Then print it out. Then sit down with the project team, mainly the superintendent.
Yeah.
And first thing we hit is the milestones.
See how you're tracking.
See if we're hitting those dates.
And
are we coming in early? Are we coming out late? You know,
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, a lot of that.
Are we maintaining?
Yeah, you get a letter in the mail that says, "Oh, by the way, you're not getting your switchgear for 8 more weeks."
Well, that is when you have to build a fragment.
Right.
Yeah, and what we'll do is we'll talk more about it a little bit in a future reference about how we do that and where we put it in a schedule.
Right.
But yes,
it's interesting how a young person, the opportunities that you have, and they're still out there for a young person who wants to move up in the industry and scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
But a key component is understanding how the building is built.
Right.
So you can visualize what's being said and what's being done and how it progresses on the project. And is it accurate?
Right.
And that's part of the scheduling part is you want to see that the schedule is accurate and it reflects, no matter what, the true status of the project. The good, the bad, but you want, because the good, the bad, and ugly, because if you have a challenge on a project, you can't ignore it. You need to address it and reposition, reset, talk to the subcontractors, go through the owners, drive up to the supplier who's making the windows or whatever, see that they're actually going to be made. If he says you're going to experience a 2-week delay, you want to go there and see that I got the material here and I'm building them. I'll have them to you in 2 weeks. You got to get that comfort level.
Oh, yeah.
And by driving up to those places and seeing them, whether it's millwork or windows or door frames or doors and hardware or components of finishing that always challenge you, your systems gear, all of the fun stuff. Train is up in Tennessee. I like driving up there. It's a good drive. They got a great plant too. And when you're up there and you can look at it and see, okay, they're going to have it. So now I can go back to my schedule and this is what we're going to do and figure a workaround with your help and how it fits in the project. It may tell us, okay, Mr. Window Guy, now that the delay was there, we need 2 crews.
Right.
We need to do 2 flow lines. We need to do a couple of other areas.
You need to find out things early, not later.
Right.
And the worst thing a team could do is hide the fact that they know something, but they didn't tell us about it till later.
That's getting snake bit.
Then it becomes, well, if you told us 6 months ago, we could have did a what if scenario,
A workaround.
a what if schedule,
Yeah.
see how that is going to impact us. Now you waited 6 months. We know how it's impacted you.
Yeah.
But we could have maybe done something better 6 months earlier with a workaround schedule
Right.
to correct it, submit it as a no-cost change order to the owner, and move on
And get it through it.
and get through it.
Yeah. So as you can see out the window there, Joe, it's getting daylight. And if you have some time today, I'd like to have you I love peer reviews.
Mhm.
I'd like to have you walk, because as you can see, we're working on our schedule here. We've got it going in our this is our procurement phase in our contract. On the back wall, we have the actual work. I like using the string and hang it on the wall so I can move it day to day.
Yeah.
Making this large enough that you can actually see your progress just by looking.
If I could make a suggestion to you, I like what you're doing there, but I would like to see more of those schedules stacked on top of one another. So in your meetings, you can go back and say, hey, look at this update was saying we're starting here, but last update, Mr. Subcontractor, you said you were going to start here.
Yeah. That would
Things
be
like
good.
that would help you out.
Yeah. And you can look at it.
Because you have the history there, just keep pinning them on top of one another.
Yeah.
6-week look aheads, just keep pinning them on top of one another.
Yeah. And everybody can see it, the first blush like that.
Yeah.
So if you got time,
I
I'd
do.
like to walk the job with you and talk to you about the project. And maybe you'll see some questions and insights for me on the schedule that I haven't considered. And then we could meet back here again and do another session and talk about scheduling and parts and pieces and some of the intricacies of the schedule.
Mhm.
That would be great if you can find the time.
Okay.
Great. We'll do that here.
Thank you.
So this is another edition. We're going to continue shortly with Joe Westgate, our retired scheduler. Thank you. This is Joe on the job site, and we'll have another edition here shortly.